Welcome back to the Finding Good podcast. My name is Brian Fretwell, and this is a podcast about how we use community to do hard things, because it's in doing hard things together is actually how we get hard things done. Today, we're continuing our very powerful and heartfelt conversation with Heather Monkin as she shares more of her remarkable journey. In the second half, Heather explores deeper insights into embracing joy, finding peace, and building trust and community, even through life's toughest challenges. Let's go ahead and jump back in. And that it strikes me that like when you talked about the letting go and opening up for joy, right? That moment is available because you're open to it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. So now we've went through like the moment, and then now we're running the race. Like take me through the progression of like where did you go from there? Yeah, like because there's a couple other layers of building community that I know about, right? But yeah.
But yeah, so after that, that
Mhm.
was 2000. That was December of 2018.
Mhm.
So we, you know, I guess doing life. I think I seeing my community, my work community, invest in what I was doing made me invest in them a little bit more. Um,
Mhm.
but I think at this point, like, we were doing the cycle, doing life. Um, there was a moment actually in that we thought that maybe um, Eli was cured by the medicine that we didn't know was going to work.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, we did our Make a Wish trip, which brings
Mhm.
us to like 2020. Um, so that again, it was like a space where we were really um, optimistic and hopeful, and um, I feel like we also then went back to our old patterns,
Oh,
um,
okay.
putting things off and saying, "Oh, we'll do that, in a year. We'll do that in a couple of years." It's very interesting how
Yeah.
that slide happened. And then we hit March of 2020, and the
Mhm.
world shut down. And I worked in the inpatient unit. I actually worked on the oncology floor at the hospital, and we didn't have, um, the world shut down. And
Yeah.
what were we going to do? And not only did the world shut down, but, nobody, hospitals didn't know how they were going to run. And there was so much unknown. And I worked with a group of patients who needed me to show up,
Mhm.
and my family needed me to show up. Um, and um, it was like I fell back. Like I started seeing like all the things that I wasn't doing, and that I started to get burnt out. I'll never forget, like,
Mhm.
uh, going to the grocery store, and they had like signs that they needed someone to work there. I was like, maybe that's where I should work, because this feels too heavy and too hard, and I can't do it. Um,
Mm.
the unknown of like uh, when you worked with COVID positive patients, and then like going home to my family, like, I have a child who had been on chemotherapy for years, and I don't want to get him sick, and
Mhm.
like all of those pressures, and I was getting so burnt out.
Mm. And
And
so it sounds like there's this big buildup again, right? Just like the first one, like I'm trying to control, I'm trying to control, I'm trying to control, right? And so this buildup then led to what?
um I don't know how it was, um but something I read, either maybe it was like you had it on social media. I can't remember where it came from, but I was like, gosh, I remember telling my boss that I was burned out, and I'm sure she said all the right things. I did not hear any of those things. All I heard was, "Heather, it's your fault." That's all I heard. She did not
Right.
say that, but that
Sure.
was my perspective from that conversation.
Hmm.
And, um, I, said, "God, I have to," I now again, I need to come up with the answer. I need to fix
Mm.
this problem. Now, within our healthcare teams, we're also now isolated. So, when I was talking about that community, we didn't have that community because we were all like, potted up and
Yeah.
um so there was a greater isolation from all those resources that I had used previously. So then I found something like there was something about, what what was the question that you always asked?
The what went well back in the day,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Like, I think that was posted, and then I was like, I guess the what went well or what did I do this week that went well was that I showed up at work.
Hmm.
So, I was like, "Well, I'm gonna get on this group."
Yeah.
And, I started going and I was like, I don't know if I really wanted to be there, but I think I needed to be there. I needed to fix myself.
Mm.
Um, and I, also didn't wanna sit and be the person with like, the disabled sick kid. I didn't wanna be
Sure.
known as that person. So, I didn't
Hmm.
wanna talk about that. I
Mm.
didn't wanna talk about my job that I felt I was sucking at. So, I
Hmm.
was like, "Oh, I'm gonna join this community and talk about cooking." So, anytime that it was my turn to talk, that's what I talked about because I was like, "Gosh, I don't wanna share anything." Going back
Mm.
to trust,
Yeah.
um, I was like, "Let's just make this as super s," and I also didn't know if I 100% thought that there would be an improvement.
Mm.
Um, and so, I think a little self-doubt is good. So I joined the groups. And then next thing I
And
know,
and
I'm doing it multiple, like at least one, I made sure I did it once a week, if not multiple times
yeah.
a week.
And for those that don't know, for those that are listening, what Heather's referencing is when the pandemic started, we had kind of this experimental group just through Facebook, but it was on Zoom. I had sent some emails, and this is where finding good kind of like emerged from. The a practice that myself and three other close friends have been doing for 10 years, which is get on the phone for 1 hour, and you can only talk about what went well the prior week. And so we had a Zoom call that was open to everyone. And then Heather, you must have seen something on Facebook and then joined. And so joining was jumping on a phone call with likely a stranger
Mhm.
and only being able to talk about what went well for when it was your 10-minute turn. Right. And so it's interesting, like the expectation was very low, right? I don't know if this was going to help. And I love the fact that, like, and I'm going to talk about cooking, right? Like, so what were some of the things that you shared, right? Was it like I made a really good chicken this week or so, you know what?
Very close.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, different like things I baked, changes I
Hmm.
made to it, um, like how it then it was interesting because you in the questions, then you kind of had I think people figured out it was not at all about cooking. Um,
Mm.
it started talking to me about like the experience of like how I was connecting with my family.
Mm.
Um, how I was like needing this desire to have an adventure and
Mm.
um how I was kind of like, everyone was teaching me through this opportunity of this community of what self-reflection really is.
Mm. Which is what? What is self-reflection really? Like, or what did you
Well,
learn it
I
was?
think we hide in the details of a story. Like
Mm.
we put more details in, you know. It was we got in the purple car and you
Right.
know and like we got to this destination and we did X, Y, and Z and then we got home and you
Hmm.
forget that that's not really where life is. Life
Mm,
is in those present moments that you don't even completely understand in the moment, but are
mm,
actually where your brain is, like, giving nice little hugs, you know?
mm.
You got into a car that was unique and special because that's something that's important to you. You wanna be unique and special. You went on
Yeah.
a road trip where there was quiet and stillness, and you can look out at the vast world and say, "Look at the potential of that is offered to us here in America." Like, we are so fortunate.
Yeah.
You sit in the quiet moments of not the busyness of your house where you're distracted by things, but you're able to just quietly nestle in with your kids at night and,
Mhm.
like, be with them. And what are
And
those
so
connections like?
yeah, and it sounds like it's instead of remembering just what happened, right? It's actually like it's remembering or like reflecting on why your brain remembers what happens, right?
Mhm.
Like that why was that moment important? Why did that why am I sharing this is like a door open to my priorities and what's important to me and what matters to me, right?
Well, and then I think the interesting part was, and how I think that this opportunity was different from other opportunities. I have no idea if was part of your plan, but like the education of the why behind it, the neuroscience behind it, the positive
Mhm.
psychology. Like, what are you doing? What are you transforming within your brain?
Mhm.
Um, and then I started then bringing that back to the people I worked with.
Mm.
And I would say,
Yeah. Oh, go
guess
ahead.
what I learned today? And then I would like
Mhm.
bring in, and there was like, with the weekly things, there was like this article, and I would read the article and I would totally nerd
Mhm.
out. And I'd bring that back, and people are like, wow, Heather. Yeah, that, and they're like, can you send that to me? And I was like, no, I'm not going to send it to you. We'll just talk about it right now. Because I started realizing that all of us put things on the back burner. And I was like, no,
Mhm.
we're going to do this now. And
Ah,
I started having these like 5 minute, 10 minute conversations with people. And I really worked on timing myself to make sure it was very short so
yeah.
that we could like talk about these concepts, talk about why we were all feeling burnt out and
Mm.
why things felt hard. And like,
And just talking about them created what? What was the benefit of just being just because it sounds like I went from like well we have it around here to like no we're going to intentionally use this to talk about what's actually going on.
created a space of wonder and curiosity.
Mm.
And it also made you feel like there wasn't like that there's a reason.
Mhm.
That, it's not because, like, how I felt at the very beginning, like, it's my fault. It's my fault that I'm burnt out.
Mhm.
It's my fault that, I'm not feeling resilient at my job.
Mhm.
It's
W-
like,
When you say
"Oh,
there it gave you a reason, what was the reason?
well, the reason is that your brain, like, favors looking at negative
Mm.
things more than
Right.
positive things." It's
Sure.
the reason that, when I go in and I start talking about, um, like, what is not happening, that gets an energy going in my brain, and I can't shift and do a mindset shift to something
Mm.
else because my medial prefrontal cortex is not activated. It's
I
like
love
you
that you remember that.
it's like you understand, like, oh, my mirror neurons are going off because of
Mhm.
this. Like,
Mhm.
and how do I do a shift? I can't do a shift. Like, I was in quicksand.
Mhm.
Like, I was just getting
Yeah.
sucked up.
So it's that like understanding myself, like as opposed to blaming myself, it's understanding myself, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
shift. And do you think that's what you were creating in those moments of intentionally like having those conversations with your like do you think you were helping them kind of have that better understanding as well? Like
Well,
of
I don't.
themselves?
I don't actually think. I think that we had to take it one step further. I don't actually
Mm,
think. I think that they. Most people are like, "Oh, Heather, you're nerding out. You
right.
found something new to read." And I am an avid reader,
Mhm.
and get very excited. about what I read. It wasn't until I got better at asking questions.
Mm.
It was the questions that I started realizing that was the piece I was missing.
Mm.
That's the
Tell me
piece of
about that.
connection. Um, I didn't realize the importance of how you ask a question and how you are completely framing it for the answer that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so in a way, I was asking questions to get through my day as quickly as possible.
Right.
And that was part of my problem of where I was feeling so alone, because
Mm.
I actually didn't want to hear anything but you're doing good, you're doing great, I'm
Right.
okay. Sounds good. Moving on. you know? Oh, even like with the patients that I was working with, like, can you do this? Yes or no? You know, that's
Right.
that's that's what I want to hear. I want to check this box, all these boxes, and get through this. And there wasn't a space of curiosity.
And when you say like asking to get what you wanted, what was it that you discovered that you wanted? Like when you're reframing these questions to get what you want, what were some of the things that you identified you wanted that weren't just tell me everything's great?
I wanted to, well, I think what I wanted was just to check a box.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
and
didn't,
when you shifted that from checking the box,
oh,
what
what
were
did
the
I
things you were looking for in those questions? Yeah.
want? The moment that um I remember I was having a conversation with one of my coworkers who was having a really hard time. And I remember feeling like my reaction, my knee jerk reaction is I just wanted to get away from the conversation because it's like, oh, this
Hmm.
is, I was being judgmental and I was like, oh, this is toxic. I was like, I don't need to be in this. And um, what I shifted to was, what could I say just to make this conversation pause and for both of us to be in a different place?
Mm.
What can I do to come at this with less judgment and just be curious? And so then I asked a question, and her response was, wow, that is a great question. No one's ever asked that.
And what did you have more of then than when you were doing the check the box? Like there was that curiosity allowed what in the like what was the shift that it allowed in the relationship or in that moment?
Create trust,
Mm.
create a moment of just pure connection that we aren't uh, to be seen.
Mm.
In changing how I said something, I was seeing the person I was having that conversation with. I
Mm.
couldn't I couldn't fix what she was talking about. Um, but what I could do is tell her or be a part of something that she did really amazing that week.
And it's those moments of like seeing them, right? Like of like helping them feel seen and heard is the trust part, the fact that it allowed you to that it made it easier, if you will, for you to be seen and heard.
Yeah. Because I don't know if I want to do, how do you become vulnerable enough to be seen and heard?
Hmm.
You don't want to do that. So, creating a space of what that may look like, and also kind of like when I sit and listen to those things or read the books of those experts, I'm like, gosh, it seems like it's going to take forever.
Right.
And I was like, I don't have that much time. I don't have, um, I am in a season that there's a lot going on, and I only have a few minutes. And
Mm.
I don't feel like I have that ability to connect with people because I only have 5 minutes, and,
Hmm.
um, this seems too hard.
Yeah.
But what you realize is, in the last week, what went well because of you gives a person an opportunity in 5 minutes to seek that out
Mm.
within
And
themselves.
oh, good.
And you can also in a conversation, it's not about me driving it. It's about me getting curious and wanting and having wonder, and also them being able to celebrate that person and what they
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it occurs to me the concept of like you were giving other people exactly what you needed.
yeah, I was.
Mm. And then you took that and made a whole case out of it, if you will, right? Like,
Well, I then said, this feels really good. Um, I like some of the concepts that I'm learning
mhm,
here. And I picked out some of my faves, and I
mhm,
said, let's do a group. Let's do a pilot of
mhm,
I have a research brain at heart. And I said, what and I do a lot of reading. So there was a
mhm.
lot that went behind this. I did a lot of research. The book, what was that? The Lonely Book.
Oh, Together by Vivek
Together,
Murthy.
yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm,
so there's also adjacent work that he did on burnout. And so you
mm,
started seeing after I read the Together book, then I started reading the burnout stuff, and you started seeing common themes.
mhm,
And I was like, well, these things really land very close together. Um,
mhm,
Talking about imposter syndrome and what that is about pretty much that isolation that you feel that you need to live be at this expectations, understanding the dimensions of burnout of where you don't see your own strengths, you don't feel that you can connect with people, you are
mhm,
emotionally exhausted, and how all of those things combined to make work really hard. And
mhm,
so I said, I wonder if we can change it. So I pulled out the gold standard measure. I bought it, and I was like, well, we'll do pre-post. We'll see.
mhm.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Um,
Of
I
measuring
don't
burnout, right? Yeah.
Yes, measuring burnout. And
Mhm.
you can't really say like if you score this score, you're burnt out, because
Right.
burnout is self-reflective. It's like
Yeah.
it's a perception that you have individually. But we do know that when you score at a certain level, there's a higher propensity that means that you have higher dimensions, burnout dimensions.
Right.
And so I took a group, and there was 12 people who said that they were interested. And I said, hey, I need you to come to weekly meetings for and I was like, and I you really can't miss. And
Mhm,
it's going to be over the course of 8 weeks. We're going to have a 2 week break in the middle. And
mhm.
so 3 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Um, and um, I started running it. And I just
And
said,
it was a 1 hour meeting, and what was the structure of the meeting?
it was on, like, I think it was on Teams. Um,
Mhm.
and
Oh, okay, so it's virtual. Yeah.
it was
Good.
virtual. Yeah. So it was
Mhm,
bringing random people, anyone who said yes, but they were OTs, they were occupational therapists and physical therapists at a children's hospital. And
mhm,
I floated it to our leadership team, who at the time said, I don't know if this will do anything. And they're like, do you have any proof? And I was like, no, that's what I'm doing.
Right.
Making proof. And they're like, do you think it's going to change? And actually I told them I didn't. I says,
Mm,
I don't think the time period is long enough to actually
yeah,
get a change. I was like, it
sure.
seems way too short.
Yeah.
Um, And so I,
Which you
by
didn't tell me that at the time. That's funny.
well, I'm a therapist. It takes weeks and weeks
Sure.
and
Yeah.
weeks to make
Yeah.
change.
Oh, 100. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but the group
And
came together.
to full disclosure, I don't know that I would have. I think especially at the time, we were very early in the studies, and you were kind of taking this on your own. Like I was sort of like giving you ideas, but we had nothing formal really at the time except for here's how you do questions. You like this why I really appreciate you sharing is like this was your project. Like you outlined this and designed it. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, and then I said, let's the first 2 weeks were really rough. I
Mm,
was like, "Oh, because you're taking a group of people who are fixers. Like that's our profession. We're supposed to
yeah.
fix." And I'm teaching them that you need to not give any suggestions or advice. Um, and that you have to like sit in this space with curiosity and keep the
Hmm.
conversation going without giving an opinion of what to do next. And but people kept coming back.
Mm.
And so of the 12 people, one person actually never went to any of the meetings after that first
Oh,
initial
okay.
one. So 11 started and 11 did every single week.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was one of those things where that in itself, where they didn't know if they were going to get any type of um, anything
Benefit.
from benefits from the organization.
Mhm.
Ultimately they did, but in the early stages of like signing up, it was all up to them. It was their free will. And
Right.
to have people attend meetings
And it was on their lunch hour, if I'm right, right?
was is during their lunch hour. I had
Okay.
one meeting in the morning, on Friday mornings before work.
Mhm. Oh,
So
okay.
it was either your lunch hour or like as you were driving into work.
Right.
And but people showed up and they did
Yeah.
it. And so when we started, 44% of the 11 people had
Mhm.
high levels, high dimensions of burnout. And then at the end, there was only 11%. So there was only one individual that still had.
Right.
So there was a really, really, really huge change. And like people really enjoyed it. What they wanted was they're like, yeah, we'd love to do that in person, was the
Mhm.
feedback we got from it. But because people didn't these aren't people that you work closely with, but they
Right.
were so interconnected and they did like make friends with people that they wouldn't have ever before.
Mhm. And I think it's interesting because they were sharing just like personal and professional, yeah? Like,
Mhm,
in terms of what went well. Yeah, yeah,
mhm.
yeah. And to have that impact, even though it may not have even been applied to something is yeah. Is it something you all still do today? Like, where did it go from there?
Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Mhm.
um, it ended in March of 2022.
Mhm.
And my son ultimately died from cancer in October of 2022. So
Mhm.
it sort of like went on the back burner. And um, but people still talk about it. People wanted me to do it
Yeah.
again. Um, and um, what I think and what I notice, is that our community, of the people who did participate, is just much more. They are tighter.
Mm.
It did open up, um, a level of connection that, as we continue to weather the storm of healthcare, um, and as it goes in all the different directions it's going, we were able to. We There's a joke. They're like, it's our safe community where we sit, and
Mhm.
it's like we do have that connection, and I think that it can be a powerful intervention. I would like to do it again.
Mm. So from the moment the diagnosis and the that moment of kind of letting go, I hear these like multiple tools, like asking question, opening for joy, like engaging the community, doing the running community. It sounds like you'd built up this like toolbox of connection, of trust building, of community building. If it's okay to ask, I'm curious it how it ultimately helped or how it changed, or how it played into, right, your son's passing.
That's a great question. The
And it's an okay not to answer question too.
Oh no, I have. This is a great question.
Yeah.
So we went on one thing I think that this whole process has helped me learn is that it's okay to put things on the back burner and allow for things to just be in the current situation. So in the summer of 2022, I took a leave of absence from work to spend just time with my family. That's actually when you got to meet Eli. And the highlight of that interaction was your dog. You can talk about that.
That's awesome.
We I do feel that your dog has a language of love with people or with organisms or whatever. He's just such interconnected. Or she? Is it she or he?
She. Yeah. There's two, but the one you're talking about is she's laying down somewhere back there. But yeah.
She does. She's just.
Yeah. And yeah. But go ahead. Yeah.
Well, but so Eli got told in August of 2022 that the medicine no longer was holding his cancer, and it had spread and it was growing at a very, very, very fast rate. That was probably the first time I never looked at the scans. I just said, I understand. And, it was probably the first moment in my life that I would admit that I surrendered. And, what is amazing is that I'm so proud of how I taught and how my husband taught Eli to hear information and then what to do with it. And, Eli was told he was going to die soon. Most likely in several weeks. And, what do you do with that? And here's Eli. He's like, well, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to run the mile and get on the Wall of Fame. I was like, I was like, I don't know if that's possible. And he just looked at me and he said, yes, it is. And the fact is, that's what he did. He came home from that appointment and started running on the treadmill so that he can run the mile. And he ended up, like 2 weeks prior to him dying, his time that he got was he was the 7th fastest first grader at his school. Which is amazing. He should have been a very, very sick boy, but he chose that in his, in the story of what our miracle was. The miracle was that he had the disease. It was significant, but he got to live how he wanted to live up until the day before he died. And I say this story part because it was so significant of how it brought the community together. So it helped him exit this world. It helped give support to our entire family by like people are like, again, he had these goals and people like came to him and said, I'm going to support you with this goal. And it was beautiful. And I was able to at that time feel very, very like I trusted so many people. I felt so supported and loved.
It occurs to me that, and I'm asking this, that there's so much overlap between when you talked about kind of walking that plank and trusting the community, and in this moment your son being having the confidence to say I can run this mile. What did that, when he said it and when he did that, what did that mean for you?
You know, it's the combination of like understanding grit and determination, grit and self-determination,
Mm-hmm.
and utilizing your resources of your community, of your village, and how those kind of connected and collided
Mm-hmm.
together. Because he wouldn't have been able to do that without his doctors and his therapy team helping him. He wouldn't do that
Yeah.
without, you know, the people that were cheering him on, his classmates that were cheering him on. Um, you know,
and it
it was everyone
and it,
together.
and it seems to me like he may not have been able to do that without having such a clear role model doing that with him for 5 years.
Oh. And that is something that is very hard for me to accept now, is like how
Mm.
much of, you know, the way Eli lived was because we modeled that for him and we said that that was possible. You know, people, he did get it from outside, you know, because when he went to the doctor frequently said, "You're going to die."
Mm.
You know, how did he create a space of and if someone wasn't helping him create it?
And that gave all of you more what?
I think it makes me realize how much potential there is, even in the face of
Mm.
like challenges. Like, that is part of our story. That is hard. That is a truth.
Mm.
That is a fact. And there's a pivot. And there are so much that we can all do and accomplish.
Mm.
It gives me that freedom.
Yeah. And how does that play out now? And I ask this knowing, because we've had the conversation that your experience with this is the I'll frame it with like, in losing my dad, I'm still connected to him in whatever way, right?
Hmm.
And so how does that community, how is Eli in the community with you right now?
Well, like, you know, I am a very spiritual person. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
everybody walks, you know, you have to create whatever this road looks like for you.
Mm-hmm.
But I see Eli in every day, you
Mm.
know. Um, you know, some people see it in animals. I actually see it more tangibly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Eli told us um, before he died how he was going to um, be around.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he's going to bring the rain. And it doesn't
Mm.
surprise me on events certain events that it pours down rain. And one of the time it always pours down rain is when we go camping. Mountains and camping and hiking is a very much a big part of our family life.
Mhm.
And so it doesn't surprise me at all when on our annual camping trips with our friends that we go on every year, it rains almost actually every time we've always gone, there's been rain. And so I know that that's him joining us.
And what
Um,
is your response to the rain?
well, we're supposed to go out and dance in it, but I don't think I always
Mm.
dance in the rain.
Sure.
That's what he told us to do. I sometimes sit
Yeah.
and read a book in the tent. We play games and spend time together. And, it just feels magical to know that the person you love is still there with you in a different way. And
It
it's hard, but it feels good.
it sounds to me I'm just like in listening to the whole story, like like getting the news like force you to really confront that control, and then having that letting go and beginning to surrender, and then it builds up again and you had to kind of learn to surrender in a different way. And it feels to me, and sort of how you describe the rain is like your relationship with Eli now is he is constantly reminding you to surrender.
I 100% agree with that.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. Yes. He is. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just think they're I just I mean, it's obviously like there's a weird like I love the story and I hate the story at the same time, right? But I think as I think about connection and the work we've done individually, on my own journey of this, like that word surrender just comes up so much time. Like the power of community is only available if you relinquish some of your own ego and need for control and things of that nature, and just the bravery and what your son did at the end to sort of remind us all like, hey, like you get that, how he responded to the worst news, right? That there's that there's faith and trust and all of that available if you choose to do that, and also if you're embracing that community part. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that like where I am now, where you talk about like where am I going with this?
Mm.
Last December, I said I want to bring this work from the back burner to the forefront. I was like, I want to do some work with this. This
Hmm.
is really meaningful to me, and I feel like it's relevant right now. And uh, I submitted again for another to present at a conference about the work.
Hmm.
Um, and I get to do that in October with a doctor that I work with. So I'm really excited about that. And it also got me to a point of I want to do this work. I want to help people connect.
Mm.
Um, so I need to create space
Hmm.
within my busy schedule. And so, like, I even have done a career change. I'm
Mm.
right now in the process of transitioning from one job to another.
Yeah.
And the new job is going to give me affordance of more time. Um,
Yeah.
and, I just think, but in order to do that, I had to surrender. I had to
Mm.
say, I can't keep saying I'm going to try to do something different without doing something different.
Mm.
And um, systems are created for the reason that they need to be. And sometimes you have to say, this is not the system that's going to afford me these different opportunities. I have to take a different avenue. And I realize now that it's this whole story that gives me the courage to just say, I'm going to take a leap. I'm going to try
Mm.
this. Um,
And And it sounds like that intentionally going to build community, right, is where it's headed.
Yeah. No, it is. Um, I have plans on multiple levels of what that will look like, and we'll see where it goes. But that's where, the first step is to go out and connect.
Yeah.
And I know that. Um, and it's just, I love, again, how when you start getting into these conversations, it gives you that agency that you have the capacity to be able to do a lot more than you ever thought you could.
Mm.
And sometimes when someone reflects back over what you have done, you feel it gives you that boost and encouragement to take these leaps that you wouldn't take.
Mm. And I think you almost stole the closing as I close out these podcasts, but I think you said it even more eloquently than me. The idea and the thing I've learned maybe um, the hard way in all of this is like, there's an endless amount of challenges and hard things you're going to have to do in front of you, and like we can't face all of those alone, but we can overcome all of them together. And as you showed that, like, there takes work in building that together piece, there takes vulnerability, there takes faith, there takes all of these things to be able to build that community. But when you can, you create an environment where you see, as you outlined in your son running the, being seventh and running that mile with, right after getting the worst news you can, that we get to experience acts of bravery that maybe we couldn't even imagine before. Yeah.
No, I agree with that. And I think that also with the other element that came from all this is learning how to give yourself and others grace.
Mm.
Because when you stop coming at conversations and connection with kind of an agenda, when
Mm-hmm.
you say, I am just genuinely curious, I have wonder, you're creating a space that is, you know, with endless possibilities. And you don't realize that when you're in it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
the fulfillment and like the what it does like within your body, like how it lights you up, it
Mm.
is just um amazing how together we can overcome so much. And you then understand why people came together to like some good hunters never needed probably another person because they could hunt just fine back when we were
Right.
tribal, but
Mm-hmm.
they were missing something. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what we're talking about. We need to come together because we can't do it alone.
And with that, we're going to bring this incredibly powerful conversation with Heather Monkin to a close. I want to thank Heather for sharing her inspirational story, valuable insights into connection, courage, and surrender. If you found value in today's episodes, please subscribe to the Finding Good podcast, leave us a review, and share it with somebody you think might benefit from hearing this story. We'll see you next time as we continue to explore how we use community to do hard things together.